Happy New Year, and welcome to 13 minutes of gig news in 13 minutes or less. Remember, you guys, everything I talk about here, the source and the news can all be found at ridesharerodeo.com and even more. I don't even get to near everything that's posted on there when I do these videos, so check it out, ridesharerodeo.com. You can find all the social media links, you can find the podcast, and you can find all the news. Check it out. Okay, let's jump in. So, Uber, Doordash, Lyft, all the giants very likely could see an onboarding like we've never seen before. I'm sure some people have, maybe if you haven't, but I'm sure a lot of people have seen articles out there. There's a few that are floating around this week about talking about, 50, 100,000. Market Watch put out an article saying that it could be hundreds of thousands of people looking to onboard to the gig economy in the first 6 months of this year. The reason being that we're in a recession. I think everybody knows that. So, that's not going to come as a surprise to anybody, but we're in a recession. It's the new year. People just spent all their money, and people are looking to, not work their W-2s anymore. I gotta tell you guys that, we talked about this a couple times this week on other things and on the audio podcast that the retention rate for a W-2 job just isn't there like it used to be. I think that, I can't say this for everybody, but maybe you at least can relate to a time when a lot of W-2 workers who went into a field would actually spend their entire career with a company. So you'd go to work for General Motors out of college or out of high school, whatever level you went in there, and very likely you would retire working for General Motors. And that was, I'm not saying just General Motors, I'm just relating it to Michigan, but you could relate it to any company. That's how a lot of things operated for many decades. That is such a small percentage now. Most people entering the business industry know that there's usually a lifespan on W-2s even. And that alone, even if it's 10 years, but, in many cases it's 1 or 2 or whatever, that alone should, I think that's part of what's behind some of this too. The pandemic didn't help because people got a taste of being away from a W-2. And whether it was taking time to themselves or coming onto the gig economy to see, I don't like having a boss. I don't like going to work and spending the money to park and drive my car to work and all these things that I hadn't even really been thinking about because I thought it was a necessity, which it is, but are there other ways to achieve it? Yes. And a lot of people are seeing that right now in the gig economy, that even if it's not full-time, they're not looking to onboard and become gig workers for the rest of their lives. They are seeing it as, well, there's some earnings to be had there, and I can do this for a while this recession thing figures out. Because I still don't even think we ever got back to filling all the jobs that people might want. I've said this many times, but I haven't said it in a while. So I'm gonna say, this is a great time. I will say, if you actually absolutely have a love for something, like you love to do something, but you never did the schooling or took the training or whatever to get where you could be applying for the job and actually have a shot at it, right now is the time. You can apply for a lot of jobs that you might think you're not qualified for, but just showing the interest, and if you are really interested, obviously putting it in a cover letter and that kind of thing, and just being honest and explaining your situation very well could get you into a job that you've always wanted, and it could get you trained. I can speak from experience that you might get paid a little less if you've ever seen, the pay range on a job being posted on Indeed or Glassdoor or any of these where you see it's the range is from this to this. Obviously, that's based on experience and what you'd be undertaking. But you might be the lower end of that scale, but you have a chance to get into jobs that might have, in the past, the company might have required schooling. And they might still have it up there. That's what they're looking for. But trust me, they don't have the amount of applicants that they used to. So, it's worth trying, guys. Give it a try. Anyway, that's not a positive point. I know January is a slow month as it is. The last thing we want to hear is that 100,000 plus or even less, whatever, could be onboarding just to be more people on the platform. But it is what it is, and I guess I would say it's better that it happens now in the slow time than it if come spring, this happens. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll stay on top of it. I'm pretty sure most of you saw that Doordash. I know this is Doordash even has it on their website that they're doing delivery returns now, and then they have their package pickup thing. So UPS, USPS, and FedEx, you can now do. I gotta say, on the website ridesharerodeo.com where the article is, if you see the source link in there, it's to the Doordash website. There were articles written up on it too, but I was actually able to just link it to the Doordash website because I couldn't understand what you're going to get paid. It's very crazy. It says, $5 or $3 if you were preferred or red or whatever it is, but it didn't say per package. Yet on the customer side, you can have 30 pounds in a box, and you could have up to 6 boxes or 8 boxes. But it looked like the driver was not getting a per box rate. It looked like they were just getting one small rate. So anyway, it's not quite Uber Connect and my sketchiness with Uber Connect. But I do feel like DoorDash is just trying to venture into a space where things could go, just if you're going to do this, be very careful. I don't know. Just be careful. I'm not trying to throw out warning signs because I just personally wouldn't do package delivery yet. I don't know how it's really condoned by the insurance companies. And let's be honest, I think we all know that these apps are willing to use you as a test subject. So don't just think because it's on the app, it must be all legalese and it's all taken care of. Tons of lawyers looking it over. Oddly, these companies don't care. They just use you as the test subject. So, because we watched Uber Connect turn into a complete drug ring in California. They pulled it for a year, then they popped it back out on the East Coast to relaunch it. So things happen, guys. Don't trust these apps. So this, I don't know if you guys saw this or heard this, but and it's been going on for a minute here. But Instacart is allowing if you take an Instacart order for $10 and there's a $7 tip. Now the Gig Life did a little thing on this, and then I saw them written up on an article, so I want to talk about it. If I order Instacart and I put $10 or the base pays $10 and the tip is $7, I can pull the tip out and Instacart's going to pay it anyway. So the question becomes, why wouldn't the consumer simply pull every tip? Now, obviously, I would hope humanity isn't going to tip bait every single person and pull it just knowing that then the driver has to do that. I wouldn't ever pull a tip. But again, I've worked in the service industry pretty much most of my career of working. So, in all honesty, it's just sad. They won't pay over $10. So if you had a $10 or a $15 Instacart order and a $20 tip, Instacart will pay 10 of it. So they'll pay up to 10. But if somebody nabs a tip back and tip baits you, they will pay you back. And I find that odd considering the company is tanking at crazy rates. I mean, at the rate they're going, they won't make it to summer with any money left unless I don't even know what could save them at this point. They're already locked in for an IPO. We're just going to have to see what happens, I think. This is an interesting story. So there's a woman on TikTok, and as you guys know, when something goes viral, it can be an issue because once it goes viral, many people are watching it. Okay, and there's a woman who's done videos now on tips as an Uber passenger in Rideshare on what to do if you're a woman riding alone. And they're blowing up with hits. So she's getting a lot of people watching these. And it's every piece of advice she has is awful. Awful. Don't do it, people. She's got, make sure that you always press your fingers against the back window of a driver's car so that your fingerprints are there. She said, find a way to leave the DNA of your hair, pull hair out and stick it in between some seats. She said, turn your name into a guy's name so that the driver thinks it's a guy ordered it for you and therefore somebody's waiting on you. Um, just crazy, stupid things that here's the bottom line. If that's how you feel about rideshare as a customer, then don't use it. If you're that sketched out that you're making a list of, here, do this, don't leave DNA in my car. Don't leave DNA in other rideshare drivers' car. I mean, seriously, pull it together. I mean, I have no problem with the fact that if you're that uncomfortable with rideshare, don't do it. That's fine. Find a different way to get around. But don't come up with these just crazy ideas that really could get you. This actually could get you in trouble in terms of the driver getting pissed. You know, I know as a driver, I don't want to see you back there pushing your fingers against my window. I don't want to see you pulling hair out and sticking it in between the seat. And my dash cam's going to catch that too. I don't want that. And I'm probably going to kick you out of the ride if you're doing weird stuff like that. And that's not something I would have to do to people, but I think most rideshare drivers would agree. If you're doing that kind of stuff, it's all because it almost feels like a setup to the driver, number one. Number two, it's just weird. So don't do it. There's a lot more news that I would have liked to have got to, but I will be doing a piece this midweek on some of what's going on with the trucking industry coming out of California, the gig economy in Massachusetts, and a couple of the things that you guys need to know about that are going on. And obviously, we'll keep talking about it throughout the year as well. But yeah, there was a scary meeting with the Teamsters and the Port of Los Angeles and independent truckers, as well as companies and the Department of Labor, and it did not go well. In fact, they're going to be pushing out a complete W-2 model. If you're an independent contractor, you're not going to be able to work out of the ports. And they tried this before, and all the independent contractors came last year and blocked the ports, but they never really pushed it this far. And this is what I was telling you. In this new year is going to come a lot of surprises, and they're not that great. So we're going to have to make them great. So let's make this an awesome year ourselves and quit relying on these gig companies to do it for us. That's 13 minutes of news in just under 13 minutes.